Welcome to Planet MicroCap. I'm your host, Robert Kraft, and joining me right now is Steven Lydeamore. He's the CEO of Immuron. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: IMRN on NASDAQ and IMC on the ASX. Steven, thank you for joining me today. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Absolutely. It's great to have you on here. And this actually happens to be your first time that we're doing an interview together. So can you start us off with a quick overview and history of the company?
Yeah, so Immuron's been around a while. We've got a quite interesting technology that we're using to develop products for gut-mediated diseases, and it's based upon the anatomy of the cow, so to speak. So let me just explain how that works. So we develop essentially vaccines for animal vaccines. We vaccinate a pregnant cow, and cows have a unique anatomy in that unlike other mammals, the immunity doesn't pass from mother to child through the placental wall because it's too thick in a cow, and it does that through colostrum, which is that first thick milk. So for those that have had kids and they recall what that looks like, it's that thick, yellowy stuff that comes out. But any vaccine that's given to a cow causes the cow to produce specific antigens to whatever the vaccine was for. We take that technology to produce antigens for targeted pathogens. So we have one product on the market, Travelan for traveler's diarrhea. There's 13 different types of enterotoxigenic E. coli that we vaccinate the cow for. Produces antigens for each one of those ETEC bacteria, and that allows us to produce a product in colostrum for prevention of traveler's diarrhea. And we're using that same technology to extend that into Campylobacter in conjunction with the US Department of Defense. Department of Defense is taking our Travelan product and trialing it at the moment, actually, in Baltimore, Maryland, for active military personnel. Another division of the US Department of Defense is doing a field trial on active military personnel from the US and the UK that are traveling to high-risk regions. And just recently, we announced that we're starting a program on Clostridioides difficile, which is a serious infectious disease that people can die from. And we're just getting that set up to start a phase 2 trial probably next year sometime.
Very good. So, Steven, what would you say makes Immuron and Travelan and Protectyn unique and different compared to some of your peers out there that are also trying to solve a similar problem?
Yeah, the reason the Department of Defense is interested in us is that there is no preventative treatment for traveler's diarrhea that's approved. And so we could be the first. So at the moment, essentially try and avoid contaminated water, contaminated food, you wash your hands, use good hygiene practices. And if you happen to get traveler's diarrhea, the CDC, you'll see that on their website, estimate between 30 and 70% of people that travel to high-risk regions do get traveler's diarrhea. So it can and does happen. It's the worst thing you want to happen when you travel down to the Caribbean or to Mexico or what have you. But at the moment, people will take with them a product like Imodium or generic name loperamide to stop it after it happens. But wouldn't you be better off taking a product like Travelan that can stop it from happening in the first place? So that's our key point of difference. And a big challenge for us is that while we're well known in Australia, we're not so well known in the US, and we need to market our product better, and we're starting to do that. So we've got an imminent Amazon.com launch starting in July this month. So it's an exciting time for us.
For sure. I mean, look, not to be too TMI here or anything, but I'm a big surfer. I've done those trips to Nicaragua and had the produce. I've gone, I've done that trip to Mexico, had the produce, And I mean, look, each time you go, you realize like, okay, go get the bottled water. Don't wash your food with just the tap, right? Just there's things that you, as travelers, you usually know, like, okay, this could result in this. And then God forbid you do get it. I mean, Imodium usually kind of helps a little bit. So, I mean, how do you answer? So I get the understanding of like, okay, you're taking a preventative, but like, does it basically just kind of stop all movements? Like what is the actual biological reaction that's happening when you take it, so that folks that are like, hey, I am going there, maybe I should take this before so I can just enjoy whatever, like what's actually going on now as a result?
Yeah, look, there's multiple mechanisms of action that are outlined on our Australian website. It's too detailed to go into now, but let me just speak to one of them. So essentially, what our product does is stop that bad bacteria. So in the case of travelised diarrhea, more often than not, it's enterotoxigenic E. coli. It stops it from attaching to the gut wall. So it doesn't impact on bowel movements or things like that. It stops it from actually causing diarrhea in the first place. So it stops it right at the beginning before it gets there.
Got it. So I also want to, I want to hit on you guys put out a release on July 5th that quoting here, Immuron full year 2023 sales increase 136% over on full year 2022 sales, end quote. So let's talk a little bit about the company's performance. Why was this increase in sales? Can you speak to some of the highlights?
Yes, probably should have been higher than that. We had some supply chain issues as we transitioned from one packaging supplier to another. That's currently still affecting us in Australia, but for the US market, which is the largest market in the world, we're unaffected by that. So we have plenty of inventory, and we're off to the races. The product works first and foremost, so that's a good thing. We're spending more money on marketing with a new chief commercial officer that's ex-GSK and Procter & Gamble that knows what he's doing. But the key reason is that big percentage increase is we're coming off a low base. So during the pandemic, not that many people travel restrictions. Good news is in Australia, travel to these high-risk regions is back up to around 80% of what it was, and similarly in the US, it's about the same. So people are traveling again. So people need a product like ours, and those that are aware of it do buy it. Big challenge for us is to get that awareness up so that more people are aware, more people buy, use, and protect themselves. Yeah, it's like travel insurance for your trip. Yeah.
Very good. All right. So my final question for you here today, from what you can tell us, what would you then say are some of the company's value catalysts now looking ahead for the rest of 2023 going into 2024?
But we expect that sales growth, strong sales growth to continue as we move into this current financial year. So we're at July to June financial year. We're just starting out. US is the largest market, and we're going to put a lot of effort into it this year. So you can expect our US probably to hit the highest sales we've ever done in the US this year, which is a good thing for the company. But putting to one side the commercial product Travelan, we also have an active clinical program on those other products that I mentioned, and so in collaboration with the US Department of Defense, which is providing grant money for 2 programs. Both of those are moving into active phase 2 trials, and these trials are controlled human infection model studies. So they're done in healthy subjects that volunteer to get infected by bad bacteria, and then treated in a trial, placebo-controlled trial, to see whether our product stops it from occurring. And because of the relatively small number of patients that get infected, the short treatment time frame, results from those studies are expected within 12 months. So there's milestone news announcements also coming in the relatively short term.
Very good. All right. Well, I definitely don't want to sign up for the placebo-controlled aspect of that trial. That is for sure.
We're very grateful that people do, in fact, do that. And it's not just us. So infectious disease studies, this controlled human infection model study is the prime way of proving proof of principle for new infectious medicines. And people that volunteer and doing everybody a service and doing that.
Yeah, just a lot of rice, right? A lot of stuff to plug you up. But anyway, enough of that. Steven, thank you so much. Where can our audience go and find more information on Immuron?
Yeah, so Immuron.com, our website, or Travelan.com, our Travelan product. please check it out, and feel free to contact me directly. I'm always available to speak with consumers and investors alike.
Very good. Well, Steven, thank you so much for joining me again. Really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Very good. Thanks, Robert.